Hey guys, this is Anthony with Last Chance Tackle. Last Chance Bait and Tackle here in Hemet, California. Sorry for the late start. We got kind of backed up. Really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. I'd kind of like to start this off by letting you know a little bit what's going on with the water level. Everybody keeps calling questions about Diamond Valley. Diamond Valley is opening up on Wednesday. I'm not sure if they're going to let boats in early as far as parking and stuff like that, so best off to call them. Make sure you can park there and make sure everything's okay with that. Everybody is getting super excited about it. The water is coming up pretty darn fast. Because it is coming up pretty fast, that's the whole basis, especially the whole SoCal area. A lot of our lakes are starting to fill up pretty quick. So that's kind of tonight's basis on what's going on. Because that water's coming up and we do live in SoCal, we don't have a lot of heavy cover. We don't have a lot of thick tules, a lot of thick grass lines, stuff like that. So we're going to keep it basic. We're going to start dwindling down to more of a finesse approach when it comes to stick baits, when it comes to that style of baits in this sparse cover. Like I was saying, we don't have that heavy a cover, not that heavy a tules. If we do, we are going to be flipping heavier baits, but this is just going to touch and scratch on the surface of the outside lanes towards the inside lanes, maybe a couple feet back into that cover. One thing I really like to start off with is the Senkos. Everybody knows about Senkos. Everybody has their favorite colors and their favorite sizes and everything else like that. One thing I always say in all my Periscopes is match the hatch. I can't promote that enough and instill that enough into people fishing. Keep it basic, match the hatch, match your colors, and you'll do good. Right now, like I'm saying, with all that grass or with all the water coming up, submerging all those trees, all those tobacco trees, all that good type of stuff, a lot of that forage is going to be up in the trees. From there, I mean, I'm going to opt for either a 3-inch or a 4-inch Senko. Try to keep it simple. I like wacky rigging these guys just because there's so much you can do when you wacky rig a Senko. You can skip them, you can flip them, you can do all kinds of stuff.
When you're throwing these Senkos, Anthony, do you find that the 3-inch is oftentimes good this time of year because it matches that small fry and bluegill?
Exactly. That's why I was starting off with a 3-inch, 4-inch size. Just because average bait size right now is going to be pretty darn small. It's going to be little bluegill, little bass, fry size right now. So you're trying to imitate that, but more of a weedless approach. That's one we were showing. We opt with a 3-inch Senko. Still really thin profile, but it has enough weight on 4, 6 pound, or 8 pound line. You can still cast them pretty far. With these guys right here, because you do have a little bit of material with them, I opt for a hook with a little bit wider gap from either point to the back of the shaft. Something a little bit more meat. That's when I go with the decoys, the shot rig or the body hook, something like that. Give a little bit more meat when you're wacky rigging these baits. And when you do wacky rig these baits, skipping them, all that type of stuff into this sparse cover is really easy. And all you're doing, taking your 3-inch Senko.
Why don't you pull a hook out and show them?
No problem.
It's pretty elementary to most people, but some anglers are afraid to ask when they hear that term wacky rig.
I'll show you. Shot rig size 4 and body hook size 4. They're both size 4 hooks. But when I pull them out, you'll see the difference and why I'm rigging them and use them on certain baits. You can see the distance between this point and the back of that shaft. Size 4 hook still. This is great for thin Senkos. It's great for the 3-inch Senko, that type of stuff, the California rolls. If you get to a 4-inch Senko, something like that, I opt still the same size hook, size 4, but now you can see the difference in the gaps. You see how wider this is? That gives you a little bit more bite on that Senko now compared to the regular size 4. Thin Senko, full-size Senkos, 4-inch, that type of stuff. And when we're talking wacky rig, like Matt was saying, everybody knows how to do it, but for those who don't and those who are afraid to ask questions, usually what I do is on the Yamamotos, we have ribs, then it goes into a soft side where it usually has GYB, then we go back into ribs. You can very well fold this guy in half, stick the hook right in that, pretty much right through him. What I like to do, I like to give a little bit more towards the nose, because I like my Senko to kind of fall a little bit different. I don't like to somewhat shimmy down vertical. I want it to fall at an angle. So what I'll do is I'll go right on the outside of the ridge, you go right through his belly, straight through that guy, directly through it. And that is it. One of the most basic techniques you could ever do. And this thing flat out catches fish. And when I'm talking about throwing it in sparse cover, you are using light line. So it's not by any means, you're not looking for those thickest tules that you have on your lake. You're looking for a tumbleweed that fell in the water. You're looking for sparse tobacco branches or lay down trees, something like that. That's where I'm going to opt for something like this. And since you do wacky rig it, there's a bunch of different styles on ways you can throw this guy.
Do you nail weight? Do you nail weight with your wacky rig?
No, I don't. I'll actually show you guys a quick little thing that I do. I don't like to put anything inside my Senkos. That's just me. Just because I tear them and lose them all the time, I don't like making a $1 Senko turn into a $5 Senko with all the fancy snazziness. There's a lot of guys that'll heat shrink weights on there, nail weights, that type of stuff. What I do is I opt for the smallest split shot you can get.
BB shot.
Take a little BB shot. Take a hook and open up that gap, and all you do is pinch this BB shot on the back shank of your hook. Pinch it right on there like that, which isn't open, but you pinch it on there, and what it does is it adds weight to your hook. So instead of having a Senko nail weighted one side or the other, having it dive straight down or this way, you still get that shimmy, but because you're rigging it more towards the nose, you're getting more of a subtle fall. You're not getting that direct drop. So it kind of hangs in the water column a little bit better.
Very good on suspended fish.
Exactly. So now when you rip off that Senko, you still technically have a weighted hook. You can use any size BB or any size split shot that you want, just depending on the size shank of the hook that you get. You can heat shrink them on. I see guys use tungsten nail weights for more of that sleek approach. They'll put a tungsten nail weight on the back of it, heat shrink it on there, heat it with a lighter when you're on the water. It adds for a nice fall to your bait, and you're not adding any weights to the worms, risking $1, turn it into a $5 Senko on a fish. Because the little 1 to 2 pounders, they love to toss these guys off your hook. Kind of a pain in the ass. Once you start rigging these guys, weighting them different, figuring out the fall that you want and everything, the reason why I like wacky rigging, especially with sparse covers, you're going to have a bunch of little holes in the brush, stuff like that. You're going to want to throw it up into those trees, that type of stuff, but you got to think about it. You're using light line. You're using 4, 6 pound, or 8 pound line, spinning rods, that type of stuff. Because you are using that, skipping is phenomenal. It is so easy when you have a spinning rod. And I'm not talking where you're going 30-yard skips or nothing like that. You're not being Kevin Van Dam or anybody fancy. You're keeping it basic. You take a wacky rig Senko, no weight, no nothing, just a Senko and this guy. When you go to make a skip cast, you're targeting small little holes in cover. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your rod, you're going to do an underhand cast, you're going to try to get your rod to go at a 45-degree angle with the water. Let that guy go. The Senko's going to do all the work for you. He's going to walk pretty much all in cover to go and sputter in there. Oh, shit.
My bad, guys.
It's been one of those days.
It's
been one of those days.
Very bad
Sorry
day
about
so
that.
far.
It happens. It's been one of those days. Like I was saying.
What's up, buddy?
Hey, we're back.
We're back to the Anthony Driscoll show.
Yes, we're back. Wacky rig Senkos, skipping them into sparse cover, works really good. If you want,
man.
and you have bigger fry, bigger bluegill, that type of stuff, chasing, I opt for a 4-inch. A little bit bigger profile, not as big as a 5-inch, not as thin as a Pro Senko or a 5-inch thin or a California roll, something like that. This one might be a little bit easier for the average guy to start skipping because it has more weight. This is something, there again, you don't need to add a nail weight. You don't need to do anything like that. Weightless presentations when it comes to Senkos are key. Absolutely love the weightless presentation. Because it is a 4-inch full size, big bite hook, size 4, gives you a little bit wider gap. Same thing. I'm going to go right on the edge of those ribs, hook this guy smack dab right through the nose, or right through the belly, directly out his back. Now, because you have that wide gap, you can see how much bite it leaves you on there. To where if you'd be using a smaller shank hook, you can see the difference in sizes. So match the sizes to your baits. Match the hooks to your baits. Try to keep them small and sleek. Don't add too much weight. We're talking about shallow fishing. We're not hitting anything deeper than about 5-6 feet. We're keeping it small. We're keeping it subtle. We're trying to not spook these fish because the water is coming up in our local area, SoCal. Granted, other parts of the country and stuff like that, we might have more stained water. but this is more geared towards that crystal clear water that we're dealing with now, that real uptight cover, that type of stuff, to where we're not going to be using braid. We're not going to be using heavy flipping sticks. We're SoCal. We're going to be doing finesse. We're going to be doing 4 and 6 pound line, 8 pound line at the heaviest type stuff. That's where these guys come into play. Super easy to cast, and a world of things you can do with them. These baits right here, wacky rig, like I said, it's going to sit there and shimmy down. Let's just say you don't want that presentation. Let's just say you want more of a weedless presentation. You're going to be throwing in a little bit thicker cover. What you're going to do is get rid of that wacky hook. Okay? Now what we're going to do is called a weightless Texas rig. A lot of guys, if you're just getting into bass fishing and stuff like that, you're going to hear Texas rig a lot. Usually what that is your standard worm with a bullet weight in front of it that slides up and down your line. As you work it, it keeps that bait down on the bottom. Senkos, because they have salt and because they are pretty much weighted with the salt, all you need is a hook and the bait. No weights, nothing fancy. You let this guy fall all by himself. I am a big fan. If I am going to do weightless wacky, I am a big fan of the RS hook by Decoy. The line tie is straight up and down instead of side to side. It gets this bait to rock a little bit better as I'm twitching it. The nose on this, really small, tucks in really nice. It's not a big super wire hook. It's not anything to where, like I said, we're not going to be flipping heavy cover. This is light line stuff. This is fun kind of clenching your cheeks when they bite type stuff. What you're going to do is weightless Texas rig, okay? All these hooks are based off what's called a Z-neck or a Z-shank, this type of stuff right here, offset shank. What you're doing, keep it simple, what you're doing is taking this hook, you're going right in the nose of the bait. And the difference between coned for the tail, flat for the nose. One of the quickest ways to identify the tail and the nose on a Senko. What you do is take your hook, you go straight in the nose of that bait till I hit the back of the hook. And now you're going to do a direct 90 right out his chin. Just like that. That's where this little guy comes into play. That's the whole concept behind the weedless part of it. What you're going to do is take this hook and keep spinning it, and you're going to notice your hook rests just like this. What I like to do, you can see it just like this. What I like to do, hold that meat on the hook. You take this guy and you corkscrew him. Once you corkscrew him, you figure out that little Z-neck, the offset shank gets it so now your bait's not sliding up and down your hook. Absolutely a little awesome feature. Comes standard on a lot of offset shanks and a lot of weedless hooks. From there, you can see how small the hook is. I love running light wire hooks, extremely small, not really adding any weight to this bait. From there, what you're going to do, usually if you use a size 1, like this is right here, your hook is going to be right at the edge of those ribs. It's a nice little stop and starting point for your hooks so you know exactly where you are. You can see how this guy rigs just like this. That's what the hook's going to look like once I go inside the worm. I take this guy, I fold him directly in half. He's soft plastic. You can bend him. I fold him directly in half. I stick it right through his belly, directly out his back. Just like that.
Show them how the hook is out the back for the guys that don't know.
Just like that. You go straight through the belly.
There you go, right there.
Directly out his back. Try to keep
now
it.
Move the Senko up so it's flush.
Straight like that.
There you go.
And what you're going to do is you're going to take a little bit of this meat, you're going to push this worm forward, and you're going to tuck that barb in there just like that. Now, it's weedless. You can throw it in the grass, you can throw it in the trees,
Perfect.
you can throw it in sparse cover, you can throw it in somewhat heavy cover. This little technique, he's still, because you are using light wire hooks, he's still going to have somewhat of a shimmy all the way down. But now, once you're on the bottom, you're able to bring it through cover. You're able to work a lot more of that bottom transitions than you would be a wacky rig. Wacky rig's nice. I love that style for more precise target casting. To where you come up, you see a little hole in the brush, you flip it in there, twitch, 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 twitch. You don't get anything once it hits the bottom, reel it up, fire it back into somewhere else. Twitch, 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 twitch. Do that style for your wacky rig. Like I said, more precise casting. When I'm going Texas rig, stuff like that, it's when I'm covering water. I'm throwing this guy at the bank, and I'm dragging it in the water, doing that type of stuff. This guy right here, even though I said no weights, no nothing like that, you come into a spot where you have real steep drop-offs, and you're fishing downhill. What I like to do, instead of adding a bullet weight, instead of adding a Carolina rig, something like that, I split shot my Senkos. What?
You're good.
Oh, I thought you were asking a question. I split shot my Senkos. And what I mean by that is I tie my line right to the nose. I'll come out about a foot, and I'll crimp on your basic split shot. Boom. Now that's going to get that guy to fall a little bit quicker down to the bottom. And the cool thing about split shotting it now versus Texas rigging it is if, say, you're dragging on the bottom, you're doing that type of stuff, your line is coming directly off the nose of your bait right to your rod. So if that fish comes up and he starts analyzing it and looking at it, chances are he could hit your line, Diamond Valley-wise. They get spooked out by that stuff. By having a split shot 8 inches to a foot in front of it now, that fish can sit there and analyze that worm, and the line is coming off over here. He's never even going to see it. He's never even going to question it. None of that stuff. Odds are is your hookup ratio and your bites are going to increase just by a little thing like that. So try to remember, if you're working downhill, crystal clear water, add a split shot.
In cover?
It's going through cover. You're working grass lines. You're working that type of stuff. Even though it is a split shot, it is somewhat still weedless. And they even make bullet split shots. If you are fishing through, let's say, trees and timber and stuff like that, use a bullet split shot. Same thing, extremely lightweight, 12 inches in front of it, and pinch it on.
Now, you have guys on here right now talking about, if you're going to use a split shot, why not rig it with a Carolina rig? Is there...
I don't like adding too many knots. I don't like adding too many swivels. You can do the Carolina keepers and adding all that weights. I'm a firm believer of keeping it basic. I am a simple fisherman. I don't like having too much stuff on there to where I'm wrapping my brain around it, tying all these different knots. I like split shots just for the fact that I can go, oh, I want it there. And I'm done. I'm not tying any knots. I'm not making anything fancy. I'm not leadering it out, doing all this stuff. I can add a split shot. I can take it away or put it on like that.
Yeah, both Carolina rigging or split shot and very universal techniques.
Yes,
Both.
yes.
I mean, with the swivel there, believe it or not, I don't care what people say, having that swivel there does not prevent line twist. It'll still twist your line. It just separates that weight from the bait a lot better.
Yes.
So yeah, split shots are good, and there's also something by Decoy you guys might want to look at. There's actually a shot lock, it's called. It's like a neoprene piece, very, very similar to that of a punch stop, but it's actually a longer cylindrical piece that you can put on your line ahead of time. Pinch your split shot on top of that, so it does not damage your light line.
Protects the line pretty good.
Definitely hop on Tackle.com and look up the shot lock. Very, very cool deal. I use it a lot when I want to, split shot 4.5 inch worms, 6 inch worms, whatever.
And the only reason, honestly, why I would recommend a split shot for this is because it is light line. I'm not Carolina rigging with 4 pound, 6 pound, or 8 pound, something like that. When I Carolina rig, odds are that I'm going to have 10 or 12, even 15 pound line going to my main bait, and I'm doing 9 inch worms. I'm going more bigger presentations, bigger profiles. That's why I'm saying split shot when it comes to the light line stuff. Just because you don't have all that material and all those knots and everything there. Quick and easy. This is a whole basic one.
Especially when you're in heavy cover. That's the last thing you want to do is snag up after you spent 5 minutes rigging and go like, oh, I just threw it in a tree. Come on, man.
Keep it simple. Split shot, pinch it on, take it off, all that good stuff. Another question we get, especially with the Senkos, is the difference between thin and pro. Average guy's not really going to know the difference. All they keep hearing is thin Senkos. Thin Senkos are phenomenal. Really, really nice. These aren't ones that I am going to Texas rig by any means. You can. I don't lie to you by how thin they are. This is one I'm definitely going to wacky rig. And that's going to be one of the main presentations I'm going to do with this guy is wacky rig. But like I was showing you with the 4-inch, how I like rigging them closer to the nose, that's the cool thing about pro Senkos now. You can see your thin Senko. Your thin Senko is identical to your 5-inch, to your 4-inch, all that stuff. This is the bait that's meant to fall vertically. By pulling out a pro Senko, things that people might overlook, you look at the nose on that pro Senko. You see how much bigger that bait is. This bait is meant to be either shaky headed or it's going to fall different on pretty much on slack line. Instead of falling vertical like this, he's going to more dive and swim down. So it's going to be a little bit different presentation. Rigged exactly the same way, but for your nail weighting guys, this is one you don't have to nail weight. The salt and the bait is already so much bigger on the nose, there's no real reason to nail weight. It can, if you want to get down quicker, but then just add a split shot on the hook, and the bait's still going to do the same thing. He's still going to dive down, he's still going to shimmy down like he's swimming down to whatever cover, whatever he wants to eat, all that good stuff. You can still twitch it, do all that, but it's still going to dive it down nose first. That's the cool thing and the difference between the pros and the thins. Pros are a little bit heavier in the nose, a little bit thinner tail, because it could be more shaky head if you need it to. It could be Nico rigged, all that good stuff. It's more or less meant for that bigger weight to get creamed in the nose of this thing, to where you might blow out a thin Senko when you want to Nico rig it. And what I mean by Nico rig, granted, this will come into another Periscope, different style, just because there's so many different ways you can rig Senkos. I mean, it's honestly up to you. For these guys that do nail weight, you add a small nail weight right in the nose, little eagle claw tungsten, something like that. You slide it right in the nose. What you do now is you take your regular wide gap hook, your wide body hook, you take this guy and you skin hook them. I skin hook them right in the GYB. Gary Yamamoto baits.
Show them where that's at on the actual bait.
What's that?
Show them where that's at on the bait. Right in the egg sac.
You see where the ribs are? Right in that soft spot. That's where I'm going to Nico rig it. That's where I'm going to skin hook it. This looks a little funky like this.
And orientation of the hook, too.
What I'm going to do is, the shaft of my hook is going to face the nose, because you want your hook riding upright like this. You're going to be working this bait just like this.
Great.
So what you're going to do is, by the nail weight sitting on there, this bait is sitting there dancing, this tail is out there flaring around like this. It's another presentation. You can very well throw this in the brush. You can do all kinds of stuff. This is just a different version of wacky rigging. It's still wacky rigging. You're still hooking him in the center, but now it's weighted. So he dances on the bottom instead of rests on the bottom flat like this, and you don't get that presentation. So many cool little tips and tricks that you can do with Senkos. So just keep that in mind. The difference between pros and thins. Pros, if you don't want to add weight and you still want it to nose down, go with that. If you want still that vertical presentation, still that normal shimmy that you get from 5-inch Senkos, 4-inch Senkos, go with the thin. If you got thinner profile baits, if you got minnows, if you got smaller bass, go with a thin profile. These right here, absolutely awesome. If you can't get Senkos in your local area, say you only have all these types of places, by all means, go online, Tackle.com. We have so many different colors and sizes of Senkos, just for the fact that here in our SoCal area, this is a bait we can throw year-round. Day, night, morning, afternoon, it doesn't matter. Odds are is there's going to be guys out throwing Senkos. These things catch them wherever you go. Keep these couple little tricks in mind, that type of stuff. Wacky rig, Texas rig, all that good stuff. There's a couple different styles. Like I kept saying, the California roll. Not too many people have been noticing about that. It takes the fins and like a 4-inch and it mashes them together. But what it gives you now is a spade tail. Just for the fact that when you wacky rig this guy or you Nico rig this guy, there's a lot more action coming off this tail. If you wacky rig him more towards the nose, he's going to sit there and look like he's swimming down instead of just your regular shimmy like this. Cool thing about Yamamoto is that he's doing all this innovative type stuff. Little soft tail like this, you could even rig him sideways so the tail is vertical, straight up and down. Gives more of a shimmy like this. Looks more of like a wounded bait fish just swimming down to the bottom, or he got stunned or something. You still get that thin profile like a normal thin or a pro Senko. 4-inch now, so it's a little bit smaller. Just a little bit, not too much. A little bit smaller, but overall profile is a little bit bigger. These guys right here, California roll is the style. He still has his normal colors, the 926s, 042s, your watermelons, your green pumpkins, everything else. He still has all your standard colors, but he offers you a little bit something different. So when you do Nico rig it, it will sit there and have a little bit more action, all that type of stuff. These little guys, awesome, awesome. For those of you that don't want to bite off the big chunk of Senkos, they are expensive. You're looking at $6, $7 a bag. It's almost like 50 cents to 75 cents a piece. It sucks, but they are phenomenal and they work. But for those guys that are just going out, that aren't too sure, just want to go out and have fun without breaking the bank, Zoom came out with a Fluke Stick Junior. And what this guy is, they took a 5-inch Senko and they put a Fluke style tail on it. Just for the fact now that since I'm talking about sparse cover, this is one I would definitely Texas rig. Weightless. I'd fish it like a Fluke. A little bit longer, narrow profile of a Fluke. This is one you can throw up in the grass. You can throw up in the trees. Fish it towards the surface. Throw it out there in a spinning rod. Reel it, twitch, twitch. Reel it, twitch, twitch. This surprisingly has a really good swimming action. There again, I'm still using a size 1 or a 1/0 offset shank hook. Keep it more streamlined. Keep it as lightweight as you can. You're only fishing light line. We're not working too deep. Like I said, it's no deeper than 5-6 feet of the water that we're trying to cover. This guy right here takes place of a Senko, takes place of a fluke, takes place of quite a few different little style stick baits. Works really good. And if the fork tail's not your thing, just cut it off. You know, it's not going to really make that much of a difference. Cool thing with this is now, you go with this color right here, the Watermelon Magic. Dye the tip of that tail black. Get a permanent marker. Color the tip of that tail black. When you see baby bass, their tails are dusted black. They have a black tint to the ends of them. Try to increase the odds. Make it look more natural. Match the hatch. Do that. If you have bluegill and you're really worried about bluegill, green pumpkin, purple green flake, this guy right here. Add some chartreuse to the tail. Dip that guy in chartreuse, spike it. Something like that. Get those bass to see and recognize, try to get it more natural looking. There again, it's weighted, it's salted, just like the Yamamoto's. Granted, it's been hard for companies to get the exact salt mold as Yamamoto. You can't really beat Yamamoto, but bang for the buck and price, these are definitely worth something to pick up. Just for the fork tail, a little bit something different. It's kind of like a California roll into a 5-inch Senko type stuff. Either way, you can swim both these. You can wacky rig them. That tail doesn't add too much resistance. So if you wacky rig it, he's still going to shimmy down. But because these don't have as much salt, these are going to have a little bit more float than your average Senko. They're going to stay up in that water column a little bit better. On some occasions, that's perfect. You're wanting it to sit there more for suspended fish and have that slower rate of fall. Give them more time to sit there and look at that bait and analyze that bait. But because that is light wire hooks, light wire line, light presentations, you're showing it to a bass that can see everything. He knows what's going on. He knows that it's there. So that's why you're going light line. That's why you're keeping it with light, small profile baits. Thin Senkos, pro Senkos, 4-inch and 3-inch Senkos. Wacky rigged, Texas rig, weightless Texas rig, split shot. This is a finesse technique. We're finesse style out here in SoCal. Every time we watch Bassmasters and everything else, they keep bringing up California, and California anglers are light line guys and this type of stuff. That because we have crystal clear water. We call it air clear. If you can see 30 feet down, fish can see you. They're not going to bite. You got to stack these odds in your favor. Go light line, especially if we are focusing on that lighter, shallower bite. Not too sparse a cover or not too thick a cover, more that sparse cover. Go with something like a stick bait. Go with something like a Zoom, salty stick, something like that. Fluke Juniors. All these little style baits are perfect for what's going on. Not necessarily SoCal areas, but around the country. This is what's going on. We're getting into that transition stage. They're eating small. I love that small bite. Past Periscopes, I'm showing fat flies, I'm showing flick shakes. I love that small stuff. It intrigues me. Something that, Matt and I joke about it, elephants eat peanuts. For the whole fact that I'm out there catching dinks all day long, but I still have a shot at catching a 5, a 7, or even a 10 on a little nothing of a bait. That's the power of the Senko. That's the power of the stick bait. Just like all these other baits, they have a drawing power to them. To us, we don't think about it. To the fish, this can be a wide variety of things. A couple things, like wacky rigging it, picking the right light wire hooks for these thinner ones. You're going to rig them the same exact way. Thin Senkos, size 4 shot rig hook, a little bit wider gap to it, give it a little bit more free range of motion. You stick with these styles. Don't look at that extremely thick cover. Stick with more of that sparse stuff, more of that open little hole type stuff, and you'll do good. Try to match it. You said match the hatch. Elephants eat peanuts. Think small. Just when you hear flipping, pitching, all that stuff, it doesn't have to be heavy line. It doesn't have to be heavy gear. You don't have to be out there swinging 8-foot sticks or 7-9 sticks that are extremely heavy. Downsize. Pull some of these out of your box. Get a feel for the lighter finesse side. You're really going to be impressed by what you're going to be catching. Right now, I'm hearing reports of guys out at Diamond Valley, 30, 40 fish days with 5-6 pounders in the mix. Senkos. All day long, Senkos. Or a shad-shaped worm by Yamamoto, which is doing the same thing, just a drop shot version. These little baits will catch them. Especially with Diamond opening up Wednesday. This is going to be a huge, huge producer right now. We're having multiple customers coming in. They're bringing all their rods and all this gear, and they're trying to wrap their minds around what's going on. Keep it basic. I'm a basic fisherman. I'm a simple fisherman. Matt used to give me crap because I only have 1 pack of worms, 1 pack of hooks, 1 pack of weights. That's how I used to run my boat. If I was on a bite, I would pick up little things here and there. That's the way I fish. I like to keep it basic. The more baits I have, the more stuff I have, less time I am fishing, more time I am thinking about what I can do, what are they doing, that type of stuff. If you stick with the basic techniques, pick up a pack of Senkos, go out there, it sucks to say, but live and die by the Senko, you're going to have a blast. There's so much you can do with these things. You can wacky rig, you can weightless rig, you can add weights to them, you can add flashers to them. It's up to you. I just wanted to give you guys a quick little heads up on a couple little basic ways that you can rig them for those people that aren't sure on what's going on and are too afraid to ask. It's fishing. Any day you're not out there learning is pretty much a day that's not worth going out. We always have to learn. That's the whole key thing about fishing, is there's always something to learn. Always a new technique, always a different way. A lot of people might not add split shots to their hooks. You might want to go out and try it. If you're fishing 5-6 feet and you want to be down there quicker, add a split shot to that back shank of your hook. Give them a little bit different presentation. Try to stack the odds in your favor. This isn't everything as far as Yamamoto baits or Senko baits. This is just a couple basic colors. Baby bass, green pumpkin, purple copper, my 2 all-time favorites when it comes to Senkos. And then 926, which Ricky would be chewing me out right now.
I know it catches big fish, John. he's all, I caught my big fish on it. Yes, it does, Matt.
It works. It works. Elephants eat peanuts. We joke about this all the time, just as much as we want to go out.
I admit it. Senko is one of the best tools ever out there.
We scoff at it all the time just because it catches fish. It's one of those baits for your average guy who's never been out there and wanted to look artificial. We'll set you up with a Senko.
It works. It simply catches fish.
Catch fish. That's what it is. We have guys coming in that say they just want to catch fish. Senko's where it's at. Diamond, Skinner, Paris, wherever you go, Havasu, wherever you go, they are going to eat the Senko. I don't know why. I don't know what he puts in them to get them to be fish crack, but they eat them.
Much as I talk about how it's like, oh, it's just a Senko, but I stock 3 boxes of Senkos in my boat at all times.
It's one of those.
Even if I'm a swim bait guy that day or whatever, I do have the Senkos.
I guarantee tournament guys, boxes of Senkos or bags of Senkos.
Oh, yeah.
That's the way it goes. Just for the fact these baits catch fish. Flat out. You can't argue with the fact, the fish catching results and everything, these baits catch fish. Keep these in mind. Keep it simple, keep it basic, light line. Don't let these fish deter you from throwing all this certain stuff. Keep it basic. If you guys got any questions, anything that you're guys pondering about, techniques you need, by all means, give us a call at the shop. Give Matt a call, give me a call. We can sit down, we can help you out. This is just scratching on the surface. It's kind of what I like doing with my Periscopes, not giving you guys too much, but giving you enough to go out and do your thing. By all means, give us a call, 951-658-7410. I just remembered the number for the first time.
Yes.
I'm pat myself on the back for that.
Get you a gold star.
That's right.
There you go.
Last chance Tackle.com. Last chance bait and tackle here in Hemet, California. Really appreciate you guys for watching and tuning into our little Periscopes. Been hearing a lot of cool things. A lot of appreciation from guys watching it. So thank you for tuning in. Really appreciate you guys. Without you, we wouldn't be here. We're just a mom and pop shop. So really appreciate all the information, all the heads up, all you guys, I should say. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is our shop. This is what we do. Like I said, by all means, give us a call. Any questions, cruise in. We'll be more than happy to set you guys up and help you guys out. Just remember, Wednesday the 18th, Diamond Valley is opening. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Everybody's stoked. Everybody's stoked. You guys have a good night. Thank you very much. Next Periscope's going to be with Matt. Looking forward to see you guys then. I'm still talking.
You're a superstar, Anthony. Megan's the only one that's good at this part. Are you kidding me right now? You know, it's a good thing I'm only good at fishing because I suck at everything else.